Hey guys, it's Liv and welcome back to my channel Endless Pages. Today's video is going to be my TBR for the month of February. And in February I'm participating in the Sims Readathon created by Ashley from Ashley Reads. I will link everything to do with the Readathon and Ashley's channel in the description below. So this is an incredibly ambitious TBR. There's 9 prompts, 8, and then the 9th one is the team prompt, and I have picked out a book for every prompt. My goal is just to reach the 8 books, and then the 9th team prompt can be a bonus if I get to it. The first prompt is vacation, so a book that has a journey or trip of some kind. So for that prompt I'm choosing The Nobleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwrecks by Mackenzie Lee. This is the 3rd book in the Montagu Siblings series. I really love this series. It's a historical fiction. I really enjoyed the first book, A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which we follow Monty, the oldest Montagu sibling, and he is about to embark on his grand tour of Europe. But he's meant to take over his father's estate when he gets back, but him and his father don't get on. Monty is a party boy. He likes drinking, gambling, sex with guys and girls, so his father does not really approve of that, and Monty kind of derails a whole trip in his usual behaviour. He does something and it causes a trip to go wrong and get set on this crazy new path. It's a really funny series. There's also LGBT relationships. The second book I didn't really like as much. It's about the Felicity, Monty's sister. And then the 3rd book is about the youngest Montagu sibling. This one just came out, I want to say end of last year, early this year. I forgot to check. But I know in the blurb it says that there's going to be a journey. I'm not going to read it because spoilers. So I know that this is definitely going to meet the prompt. I just hope I really enjoy it, because the second book I did not enjoy. I want this to make up for it. The second prompt is Unleashed. Read a book with an animal in it. This is such a stretch, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm going to say The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang, the 2nd book in the Poppy War trilogy. This is a fantasy series and I'm currently participating in the Poppy War Readathon, so this works out perfectly. I'm going to leave the link to the Readathon in the description as well. So this is a big plot to explain, but we have our main character Rin. She takes part in this test called the Keiju. She passes and that gets into this military school called Synagogue, and there she faces prejudices because she's 1, dark skin, and 2, a peasant girl. Whilst there she discovers she has access to this power called, it's like a mythical art called shamanism, and while learning to control that power she discovers that gods that were thought long dead are very much alive, and that mastering this power might not just mean surviving school. I'm going to read this bit of the blurb because it's very confusing. So, for while the Empire is at peace, the Federation of Mugen still lurks across a narrow sea. The Federation occupied Nikan, which is like the country they're in, for decades after the First Poppy War, and only barely lost the continent in the 2nd. And while most people calmly go about their lives, a few people are aware that the 3rd Poppy War is just a spark away. The 3rd prompt is Superstar, a book featuring a famous main character, and for that I'm doing Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. She's not actually famous, it's a historical fiction, but she's famous in the book, so that counts. This is basically like a story about a band called Daisy Jones and the Six, and they were very famous until they split up in 1979 and no one knows why. I think this is a story set up in interviews, and there's an interviewer going through and interviewing all of the members of the band about their rise and fall. The 4th prompt is Making Magic, so read a fantasy book. So for that I chose Coraline by Neil Gaiman. This is a fantasy / horror book. I picked this book because it's tiny, it's middle grade, it's big text, and there's illustrations as well. I needed something not big because every other book this month seems to be massive. And I've always wanted to read this as well. So basically it's about a young girl called Coraline, and Coraline moves into a new house with her family, and she thinks there's something a bit strange about this new house, and she discovers behind a door in her house another house, but there the mother and father have like black button eyes and papery skin, and they want Coraline to live there with them forever. And Coraline knows that if she ventures into the door she might not make it back. The 5th prompt is Base Game, so a reread. I chose for that Legend by Marie Lu. I made a video, I'll link it somewhere, talking about series that I have started and never continued on with, and the Legend series is one of these. So to be able to continue on, I've only ever read the first book, so I want to reread this before I continue on with the rest of the books in the series. So basically this is set in the place called the Republic, which used to be the Western United States. We have two main characters, June, who was born into wealth and privilege, and she's being trained as a prodigy in the military kind of circles. And then we have Day, who was born in the slums, and he is one of the most wanted criminals. Then one day June's brother is killed and Day is the most wanted suspect, and their worlds kind of collide. June and Day then kind of start a game of cat and mouse. June wants revenge for her brother and Day wants his family to be able to survive. So while playing their little game of cat and mouse, they both discover a sinister truth about what really brought them together and how far the Republic will really go to keep its secrets. The sixth prompt is Living Large, so read a 500+ page book. I can't show you it because it's not out yet, but it will be House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J Maas, the second book in the Crescent City series, the first book being House of Blood and Earth. This is also a big chunker. This book basically is about Bryce, and Bryce is human, and she is a big party girl, loves taking party drugs, you know, having a good time. And then her best friend is murdered by a demon, and then we jump to about 2 years later when the person they thought killed her best friend is behind bars. A similar murder in a similar kind of pattern and way happens again, so Bryce is put on the case to discover who the actual killer is, and she's given this enslaved angel called Hunt as some assistance to find the killer. House of Earth and Blood was definitely a fave read of mine last year, and I know House of Sky and Breath is such an anticipated read for so many people. So the seventh prompt is House Party, read a book with multiple POVs. I literally panicked for this one. I started picking up books off my shelf and just opening them, being like, do they have multiple perspectives? And it worked, because I discovered The Dark Tide has multiple POVs. It has 2, so that counts. This is by Alyssa Jasinska. I literally don't know anything about this book, so I'm just going to read the blurb. I'm really sorry. So every year on St. Walpurgis Eve, Caldella's witch queen lures a boy back to her palace. An innocent life must be sacrificed on the full moon to keep the island city from sinking. And then we follow Lena, and she's convinced her brother is going to be taken this year. To save him, she enlists the help of the mysterious Thomas, the boy she secretly loves, the only person ever to escape from the palace. But they draw the queen's attention, and Thomas is chosen as the sacrifice. Queen Ava, cast away from her heart when her sister died for the boy she loved, now as queen she won't make the same mistake. She's willing to sacrifice anyone if it means saving the city. When Lena offers herself in exchange for Thomas's freedom, the two girls await the full moon together. But Lena is not at all what Ava expected, and the queen is nothing like Lena envisioned. As water floods Caldella's streets, then the Dark Tide demands a sacrifice and must choose who to save, themselves, each other, or the island city, relying on them both. Prompt number 9 is a team prompt, and that's really classic for Team Goth. I'm just going to say now, I don't think I'm going to have time to get to it. I have a packed reading schedule, as you've just seen. I have a couple picked out, like I have a couple of classics on my shelf just in case I do get to it, and if I do, of course I will include it in my wrap up. I chose the worst month to do such a massive intimidating TBR. I go back to TAFE next month, so I'm not going to have as much time on my hands, so why not make a huge TBR the month I will be back doing assignments and stuff? Why not? If you want to be involved in the Sims Readathon, I'll leave all the links to the pages in the description, and I'll leave the links to the Poppy War Readathon as well. Let me know in the comments, what's your TBR for the month of February? How many books are you going to read? Are you doing any readathons? Let me know how you're planning your reading month. As always, the links to my socials are in the description below, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!